Well, the thing is here, we are actually live streaming now.
I've never done it to YouTube or anything, so I've always wondered how that was done.
And then, so it's actually broadcasting us live right now before you think you're live. That's always a good thing to remember. Well, the thing is here, we are actually live.
Okay, since we are live, I would like to convene the meeting. It is Thursday, March 2nd, 2023. It is about 6 minutes after 3 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the Lincoln County Fair Board. I am Vice Chair, Acting Chair, Blair Hall, and let's have the folks in the room introduce themselves, starting with our county administrator, and go around the table, please.
Tim Johnson, County Administrator.
Heather Power, Lincoln County 4-H and current fair manager.
Thanks, Casey.
Daniel Elbridge, Fair Board and Military Liaison.
Todd Butterfield, new to the Fair Board.
Kathleen
Casey?
Kelly,
I'm sorry,
Administrator.
Kathleen, I didn't see you.
Administrative helper.
And Casey Miller, right?
He just left.
Oh, he stepped out. Okay.
He departed.
Okay, so just a couple of logistics before we turn to Heather for the 4-H fair update. Daniel, welcome to your first meeting as an official fair board member. Todd,
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Todd, I guess we could call you fair board designee, that you will be. I don't remember off the top of my head how we staggered the terms, but you will be coming on board officially very soon, and welcome to you as well. And thank both of you gentlemen for your interest in serving in this capacity.
We also have Colleen Roberts on via Zoom as well.
Oh, hi. Yeah,
Sorry
now I
about
see
that.
Colleen, I'm sorry. And welcome our other new fair board designee appointee. Hi, Colleen. And glad you could join us remotely. So, let's see. Frank Geltner rotated off. He's now had his last official meeting after serving us since 2009 on the fair board. I'm still a member as of this meeting, but will be rotating off, I'm not sure, either next month or the month after. Jim Beisman is still a fair board member, but he wasn't able to join us today. So Daniel and I do constitute a quorum of the fair board for doing business. And Heather, 4-H and fair update.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I don't have much to report. I'll kind of start on the 4-H end. We did our beef weigh-in yesterday. Super successful. I want to give a shout out to Jack Whaley and the county maintenance crew for getting our scale inside the barn, which made a huge difference for us. It was easier to corral the beef that may not have been halter broke as well as they should have been. And it just made it safer for the kids and everything. So we ended up weighing in 8 cows yesterday, which is the most that I've had since I've been with Lincoln County 4-H. So that's super exciting to see our program grow. We do have a request to use the barn for a sheep shearing event we do annually. I think the consensus for our group is if it's available, May 13th is the day we're shooting for. It's a historic event we've done for several years. We call it Deputy U. We solicit local sheep farmers to bring their sheep in, and we hire shearers. So smaller farmers that maybe don't have the capacity to have a shearer come out to their farm can come to us. The 4-H kids do everything outside of the shearing. We hire a professional shearer to come in, but the kids do hoof trimming, vaccinations, dips, things like that. So it's a great educational opportunity for our kids. And then on the flip side, we're helping out the local community by taking care of their herds. So that's kind of on the horizon for 4-H. The kids, I don't know how many times the kids told me yesterday how appreciative they are that the barn is almost complete. It looks wonderful. Again, like I said, it was such an easier way, and with that scale being inside, the concrete floors were immensely helpful. It was not dusty. It was not muddy. It was was just fabulous after all of the weigh-ins we've done. I mean, we were lucky it didn't rain yesterday, but a great turnout. And again, another thank you to Rotary. They're going to be our new auction committee. The Optimist unfortunately dissolved after COVID and they're no longer running our auction. So Rotary's taking over. So they got the first kind of hurrah into 4-H with the beef weigh-in, which is always kind of the most difficult for us. That's kind of all I have on the 4-H side. Fair side, we're getting vendors coming in. I've got a couple food vendors already booked for the year, a handful of indoor vendors. We're still looking for a lot more kind of business type artisans, crafters, anything like that. It would be great to have more local people on. A lot of our nonprofits are coming back that are here every year. I'm starting to kind of book some entertainment. I'm kind of waiting on the budget to kind of solidify some of those things. And then another big change is that I think we're going to have rodeo instead of Saturday and Sunday. We're going to do it Friday evening and Saturday evening in hopes of maybe drawing larger crowds Friday than we have traditionally on Sunday and making a little bit more revenue from the rodeo gates by flip-flopping the dates. And Hal Rodeo, who's our contractor, has those dates available. So I think we've secured them for Friday and Saturday. And then we just have to get the NPRA, the correct information to start getting the Cowboys recruited for that. That's pretty much all I have.
All right, questions for Heather? Speak up if you do.
What day was moving the rodeo to?
Friday and Saturday. So we'll do Friday evening and Saturday evening. I think 5:30 would the opening ceremony would start, and then the first bowl out or the first bronc out of the chute will be 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Speak up, because I've lost, for whatever reason, my view of the camera in the room, so don't hesitate to speak up. All right. Thanks so much. Now we have discussion of MOA, and I'm not sure. Tim, are you going to lead that dialogue?
There we go.
Definitely.
Oh, there. Now I see all.
I do have.
Pardon me?
We're getting some things organized, Commissioner.
All right.
All right. You doing, Tim?
Yes, I do. But this is the between the OSU and this is the agreement between OSU and the county.
Yeah,
not
that's the
MOA.
IGA.
This is the
MOA.
IGA.
Okay, then I don't have copies of the MOA. And I think that's what I sent them out.
Do we want to,
Yeah,
do you want
I
me
didn't
to,
get it.
you want me to make copies real quick?
If we can, how many pages are there?
Not that many.
8 pages.
Yeah, I think so.
I'll ask HR if they can do that.
Thank you.
In the meantime, while we're doing that, Commissioner, maybe we should move ahead with a subsequent discussion, because this is going to take a while to get that done.
Okay.
Maybe we move ahead with the bylaws for a moment.
Sure, let's go ahead and do that.
So within your packets, there is, and this should be a outline of bylaws for you. And much to our amazement, as we've gone through the years, we didn't have any bylaws. We normally, for every external group in the county, have bylaws that identify from which this entity would operate. So I apologize for this. I was given this, we worked this up and then the county council or attorneys should have put draft on this. So we didn't get that. So I ask that all of you write draft on the top of it. Do you have a copy?
I have a copy digitally. I don't need a paper one, but yeah.
So to that regard, we'd like you to review this document. Ponder any questions that you may have and get back to us on it. But this is a framework from what we'd like to develop from and then subsequently adopt. And it's simply because we've noticed this and that's it. But we need bylaws. We all have bylaws for every organization that we work in. From the BOC itself to planning commission to recently even the intergovernmental agreement in the creation of the countywide homeless advisory board. So with that, if you will just all take a look at that, and over the next time we meet, if you have any questions, then the next time we come together, we can make those changes and then that adoption for that by those bylaws.
Okay, that sounds good. Does anyone have any comments right now? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the next agenda item, discussion of the election of a chair, a permanent chair and vice chair. So let's see, Daniel's on board March, then Todd and Colleen in April and May. I don't know if anybody has an approach to suggest. I'd say perhaps in June, with all three members on board, we could elect a permanent chair and vice chair at that time, or if there's a desire to send me off into retirement sooner,
So
I'll do whatever the majority likes or thinks is appropriate.
talking with Colleen, and obviously she can unmute and chime in. I know she's listening and working her backside off on multiple things. She has requested not to be appointed to any officer position.
Okay,
So it kind of leaves it down to Mr. Butterfield and myself to be the chair and vice chair.
okay.
So-
Are you gentlemen in agreement on doing that then? And, chair essentially doing what I'm doing now, trying to preside over the meeting and keep the discussion flow going. That's basically what it's about.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, we're both good with it.
Do either of you really have a preference on being chair or enthusiasm for it, or do we flip a coin?
Don't matter to me.
Go for it then. Let Daniel have it then.
Okay, yeah, you'll be our senior member soon, so okay. Let it be noted in the record that the consensus is for Daniel to be the new chair and Todd to be the vice chair, and I think we'll have to, you'll have to ratify that after you've got the new, the full new membership on board, if I'm making sense there. Thank you both. All right, discussion of capital improvements on the commons, Mr. Johnson.
And Madam Chair, could we go back to item number 3 since we have the material in front of us on the
Okay.
MOA?
Sure.
Thank
Take it away.
you. Thank you very much. So within the context of that, thank you, Dan, for getting this copied for us
Yeah.
in short order. This gives you the MOA and kind of defines the responsibilities of the county from the Fair Board and responsibilities associated with this. I think there have been some questions about who is responsible for the rental of the facility and ongoing maintenance and so on and so forth. And I think this does a pretty good job of explaining that. So in the context of this, a week before the fair and a week after the fair board has the responsibilities associated with the facility because it is yours. Unless there is a countywide emergency of which the Board of Commissioners identifies that unfortunately we are in a full evacuation notice and we have to use that for emergency purposes, it's yours to be had. And Then anything beyond and above that is the responsibility of the county. And of course, as you go through the county fair, if something should break or something should happen relative to the physical facilities and you need it repaired, the county is responsible to assure the fact that you have those repairs completed in an immediate and expedited fashion. But it gives you an idea of that responsibility. And as such, we enter into an agreement with the third party operator for you as the fair board to put on the fair. And in that case, that is the agreement with the extension and associated with that, which is going through, may I identify at this point, because county council, the contract ended this last year, so it is being updated as we speak. It will go in front of the Board of Commissioners for review. Upon your review at our next meeting, and then on to the board for approval. But at this particular point in time, we're proceeding as though it is OSU extension, simply because of a variety of different things, including quality of service that they have provided. And that timelines are such that anything that would be thought of otherwise would probably not be prudent at this point. But that should give you a fairly good idea of what this is. And we'll make sure that those items that are incorporated of what the responsibilities are of the fair board within the MOU are in turn also located within the bylaws. So there's some triangulation that has to occur with documents that have to get done to make sure it's clear and identified. And a lot of attorneys will be reviewing this at the county council office. I got a whole lot of folks that will take different turns looking at it, making sure that they catch everything that needs to be done before your review next month. That's it.
Questions, comments? All right, so.
No, yeah, for me, it's gonna be just general, like, learning and
Mhm.
off, side conversations of just learning new material. That's
Sure, and I know we're especially throwing a lot at you all at once today, but just kind of getting it in the hopper and getting the review, discussion, and action process beginning. All right, Mr. Johnson, I assume you're taking the next item, discussion of capital improvements on the commons.
Yeah, thank you very much, Commissioner. To the board members, want to just bring you up to date. The master plan was adopted in 2018. You get an idea of it with this little rendering here. It is not to scale, please understand that. The buildings will be much different in configuration and size. One of the things that presented itself to us in June of last year was something we were unaware of, and that was a grant from the state of Oregon that specifically was initiated by the state legislature to provide every county in the state for their fairgrounds $277,000 for the purposes of building a new building or renovation of an existing building. We immediately went to work with the commissioners. The commissioners, the Board of Commissioners was kind of confronted by a very short time frame. We received this grant and subsequent direction from Business Oregon on a Friday afternoon. They informed us that within less than a week, we had to identify to the state our decision to either accept the grant and what it would be used for. They did not allow any delay or extension. And that placed me kind of in a tenuous situation because being new on the job, I had to tell people that were my bosses that we needed a decision in less than about 3 days so that we could get it on the board agenda for their approval. I must admit they were quick on the upswing. did so. Many things were reviewed, many things were looked at. When it was all said and done, while it was not on the master plan, it could easily be identified to improve, I should say, and then subsequently approve the 4-H building. That work has been underway since October. We went through a bid process. The work has not yet all been completed. The major amount of work on a new skin on the building, pedestrian-based doors, have been completed. There is some legacy work that needs to be done on plumbing and electrical on the inside, and painting needs to be completed on the interior. To Heather's point, the concrete pad inside has been completely done, so there is no dirt floor anymore remaining inside the barn. There will be, based upon a request by the 4-H members, a 16 by 16 concrete pad with drainage so that they have a clear area for which they can wash the animals when they get them off the dirt or grass area so that they're clean. We can accommodate that. So we will be doing that work along with new spigots in the area. And then to Commissioner Hall, who asked me to look at any other improvements that could be made. I apologize. I call it the show ring area will be upgraded. There's a plentiful dry rot in posts and surrounding fencing that will all be repaired. New fencing will be put up. There will be new turf that will be put in. So all the old ryegrass will be pulled up, and bluegrass in the way of turf will be brought in and placed. And maybe a couple small stanchions for seating will also be placed in the area. So that will all be done probably no later than middle of April. So we will then be ready for a ribbon cutting shortly thereafter and have a very nice building for use on the premises. Now, again, that was not on or in the master plan. However, we think that was the commissioners believe that that is a really good use of those funds. Now, the state doesn't have any other future funds on the horizon, but who knows? We're not certain. But that does not preempt us with the master plan. If you go back and you look at a Board of Commissioners meeting, I think it was October 15th of 2022, former County Counsel Wayne Belmont and I made a large presentation on a workshop on the Commons Fairgrounds property. Much to our amazement, in 2016, the voters of this county passed a new transit room tax of 2%. That money was allocated for the purposes, and Commissioner, I won't speak to you, but you and I had this conversation earlier today, that it accounted for both operations and capital improvements, either at this site or a yet identified site, for the purposes of its redevelopment or development. The voters voted for it by a very large margin. It passed, I think it was like 62-38, something like that, I believe was.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
In 2016. We have right now over $6 million, but as a professional in this area, what I do, and I see things differently than other people, this is a revenue stream that will occur every year, and it will occur for years to come. Under the statutes given to counties and cities by the state, we are able to develop what is called a bonding mechanism that will enable us to use those revenues out to 30-year term. Those then we can go to investors. They will get paid by the future revenues over that term, and we will be able to get somewhere around $36 million compounded from this revenue during that period of time, bring it to bear immediately to the market and get these improvements and buildings in place. So let me give you up-to-date information of what has transpired and how quickly we're working on this. Excluding the 4-H barn, the other elements is that we need a livestock barn. The current barn has been marked. I've had a report done by inspectors, and it is basically, for lack of better expression, red tag. So it is going to need to be demolished. So we're going to need a new livestock barn, and that was identified on this all along as such. We're also going to be looking at the obvious development of a new pavilion, a rodeo pavilion / equestrian facility and structure. We'll proceed with that. And then what they call a multi-purpose building, but an exhibit hall and conference space. There are great examples across Oregon. We were looking at one recently in Umatilla, if I'm not correct, Commissioner, that
Yes.
identified a beautiful outdoor arena for rodeo and a corresponding exhibit hall space. We
Plus
believe
3
that,
barns.
yeah, which we don't have necessarily the space for 3 barns, but we
No.
do with the 4-H and a new barn. We'll at least get 2 on the property and an entry gateway area that will get developed. Here's what we can tell you. We'll initiate that in relatively short order, working around annually the fair. But what we need to do right now, in less than 60 days, we've had 3 water main breaks on the property. And some of the water is turned off now that's serving the property. And they're in different locations. They're not in the same location on the property. They're all breaking at this point. And some of it is strange because it's relatively new pipe. And so we're having questions with manufacturers about that. But in the meantime, we are not leasing our property because we can't honestly tell you if something breaks and somebody needs something, whether we can provide that service or repair that service. In the case of the current break, which is on the northeast side of the property, when we close that water down, it impacts everything over to the existing floral building that's being used by the 4-H group. So we have to make temporary adjustments to restrooms and things of that nature. But what we intend to do here momentarily is to go out. I have to, as directed by the Board of Commissioners, develop a work program for the property. I will be doing so and hopefully having that done sometime in April or early May. Getting that approved. And then the first element is to go out to a bid for civil engineers to help us identify and re-identify where the specific infrastructure is located on the property and where or any right of way has occurred with other infrastructure by any other utilities, be they wastewater, water, power, energy, communications. Once we get that, we'll be able to identify that and mark that accordingly on the property. It is our hope that that will not have any disruption to this year's fair. Shortly after the conclusion of this fair, it will be our intention then to get into construction by tearing all that out. And then plumbing to the areas where the new buildings will be located, at least close enough to where those new buildings are, where we can get that going in preparation for next year, and temporary services to the buildings that remain in existence. Additionally, our effort will come forward with looking at, as the commissioner and I were doing earlier in the week, a new livestock barn that can accommodate the needs immediately of moving the equipment and chattels out of the building that has been red tagged and moving it into that new building in preparation of that, and then also for then getting ready for the new pavilion. We have worked with a provider for a new barn before on our search and rescue and law enforcement impound yard, and they can bring to bear with little to any problem in their supply chain a new barn, a very attractive architecturally speaking barn that I think you would enjoy on the property in relatively short order. Again, doing it in advance of next year's fair, and then stopping and waiting for you to put on your fare, and then going back to work and getting the front gate and the rodeo pavilion, or whatever you want to call it, with whatever terminology you would like to use, getting that then taken care of. As that's going on, we'll get into the planning and pre-planning for the exhibit hall, because that is going to be a very large building. That will probably be in excess of 30,000 square feet in size. And that will take some work to do in the context of that. And so hopefully by 2026, you will have a full and complete area in which to have a variety of venues for your needs as a fairground. And I hope that gives you an example of the work that we're doing. But county staff is moving relatively quickly to try to get that done. That's my report. Take any questions.
Questions for Tim? All right, have we sent, maybe if we haven't, could we make sure our 3 new Fair Board appointees get an electronic link to the, excuse me, an electronic link to the adopted master plan document?
We'll do so.
Thanks. So
I went and pulled it off the website, and there's a lot of documents to try and decipher.
It's a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of
One
work.
was like 165 pages. I wasn't printing that one out.
No.
But it gives you a good insight of what this community was looking at over a 2-year period. Compliment the community on the work that they did. And I also complimented the Board of Commissioners. Let me just share this quickly. Normally, when I'm called into a community to help do capital improvement projects, the first thing that comes in is says, we'd like to build this. Okay, do you know how much this is going to cost? And then we go through that exercise and go, okay, how are we going to raise the money? Much to my surprise and accolades to the commissioners, the money is already there. You did it in 2016, so my kudos to you. What's humorous is that when I look at the $174 million budget of the county, I couldn't figure out what this huge sum of money was that was apparently was restricted, but I had no idea what it was for. I couldn't reconcile it back to a source to understand what it was. And I started asking people, including my own finance department, they couldn't figure out what it was. And lo and behold, to Commissioner Hall's insight, she identified to me that she thought that maybe it had to do with the fairgrounds. And lo and behold, as I pursued further investigation, that's where we found out how it all came about. And it's year after year, this money keeps just getting deposited through TRT into the county treasurer's office and gets deposited in a restricted fund that just goes in and is making, I think, well, we haven't been making much interest because of, as you all know, we're all in the same boat. So it's a low risk fund. Let's just be conservative with that and just forego that. It's probably been less than 1% per year, but It's there. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't lost any money. And as such, enables us to be able to bring to bear resources immediately to start this construction and development or redevelopment of the property. And so kudos to everybody that was engaged into this magnitude of that report, Dan. To your point, it's worthy of reading because you really get an understanding of what the community's thoughts were as it pertains to this. And I have to admit, the intelligence that is gleaned or that I gleaned from it, that what was gathered from the input of the residents, how to use this facility again in a variety of different ways, specifically due to natural resources that may be impacted by a disaster of some sort, was really well thought of. And that was thought of before the fire, the Echo Mountain fire.
Yeah.
And that's tremendous. That kind of thinking is really forward thinking, and you can't do anything other than compliment the community for this kind of mindset to be able to use this asset if something should happen. So the ability to be able to use the open areas and the property and the facilities that want yet to be built, I think are significant. There's more to come, obviously. In the upper left corner, there's a green area. Right now, that is nothing more than about a rough 3/4 crush over the top of unstable area that's going to need a geotech report study on it. But I think at this point, before we look at any capital improvement plan, that would be something that you probably want to investigate or provide input to us on. Maybe you want to use it for what I want to call it, extra parking, overflow parking. And maybe an where you might want an implementation show, equipment or something else that you might want to be doing if there's not enough room on the main body of the fairgrounds or commons area.
Isn't that
Just
currently
about.
where we're
The RV sanctions are there, and then we use it for like dry
dry
camping
camping?
during
Okay.
fair.
So a lot of good options on that. I appreciate that. But again, we'll get that out, Commissioner, to the members and make sure that they have that.
All
And
right.
if you'd like us to do a hard copy of a 181-page document, we'll be more than happy to do it and get it to you.
I probably eventually will, because as you can tell,
Reading everything.
well, I print, I don't know about the rest of you. I get tired of looking at computer screens and reading off a computer screen. I shut the computer and I walk away. Paper, I can write notes, hence why. So I personally would rather have a hard copy. Eventually I'll print one. But if you wanted to provide one, I'm not gonna.
We'll
stop
do
you.
that. That's a big document to print and expensive. You would put that in our minutes to make sure
They're in
that
there.
each committee. Thank you. So we'll work around the fair. We'll get this done in short order. I would say 2.5 years, you'll be looking at a brand new facility and be able to tout it for a variety of different new vendors and other exciting things that you may want to do.
And I had a question about, we're talking about moving the equipment from one bar to another. That's after this year's fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so all of like our panels and stuff are currently in the arena, what we call the indoor arena.
Yeah.
And that's the building they condemned. So all the like cattle panels and horse panels and some of our cages, we're kind of spread out all over, but some of our cages and things are like that.
And you mentioned the outdoor arena getting new fencing.
Well, the outdoor arena will go under a whole new development scheme. So if they can use things that you already possess, we'll ask the developer or builder to help us with that activity. If not, then we'll look for something else.
And that's before this year's fair?
No, sir.
Okay, because that's,
We're gonna be renting back panels and things like we did last year. We've already got +1 on the books for that. So
okay.
we were hopeful that we would get some of that. Claire might have to help me with this, but I know the board had approved ordering new panels because the arena's supposed to have some mobility to it that you can change it and it'd be flexible. But with supply chain issues, we just couldn't get anything ordered in a timely manner. So last year we ended up bringing back panels and chutes to accommodate for rodeo. And I think that's the plan for this year. Again, because it's the same situation, we're struggling finding panels that are durable enough for our coastal climate and that can be ordered in a timely manner. Because we don't want to just order regular panels because we have rust issues here, as you guys all know.
Yeah.
Unprotected areas.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where the struggle came in, is we just can't, it was a supply chain issue. We couldn't get things in a timely manner. And so I think with the redevelopment, it's just going to be smarter to just do it all in one time versus trying to piecemeal it like we had planned on before.
Yeah, that's 100% correct, Heather. All right, any other discussion for the master plan capital improvements budget?
So under budget, number 7,
Oh, yeah. We hadn't really gotten there, had we? Okay.
no, we haven't.
So let's move to 7 then.
Thank you. So we're in the middle of preparation of your budget for you.
Okay.
And we will be bringing that forward at your next meeting, which will be next month. I will be presenting your budget to the commission. I think it's the 1st and 3rd weeks of May.
Okay.
1st and 3rd weeks of May. Your budget will probably be somewhere between $150,000 to $200,000. But that includes a reserve and contingency.
Okay. Does that take into account any kind of outside funding that, like the rodeo committee raises or anything like
No.
that? Okay.
No, that's what you get. We get our contribution from the state. That's a intergovernmental transfer. And revenues that occur year after year and beginning balance. So, and then what the county puts in. So that's what we start with. So anything beyond and above that then becomes your place in your books. And we move forward with it. And it's been typically, I recognize, pretty tight for everybody over the years. I'm hoping that we'll change that in years to come, because you'll have far better facilities in which to use, a nicer venue, and that more people will be able to want to participate as vendors, paid vendors. People want to show up. So I think you're at the cusp of something great and wonderful happening, but I learned real quickly that I'm the only county administrator in the state that appears to be of any interest in supporting its county fair.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. It was pretty lonely there at the Oregon Fair Association. So, but you can count on my support on this from a budgetary perspective, not only this coming year, but also in future years, looking at a whole source of variety of resources to help make this happen on an annual basis for you. So, but I take your lead on it, but please understand I'll be constantly working numbers for you during a fair and after. Let me just share this with you. I've learned something about our policies of operation, and I will not do this what has been done previously, and I think this is a point you need to know. We need secure courier service with the money on a evening, if not twice daily basis during the fair. I'm not going to have our treasurer carry a bag of money from point A to the bank. I'm not going to do that. Well enough to, if we have to pay for it, we'll pay for it, but I want to make sure it's secure and done correctly. Because the
Yeah.
last thing I want to read is something happened, and then that's all too often that something like that may occur. And then, so we'll hire a vendor to do that.
Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just a little further on that, the last several years, I think Wayne Belmont, Jim Beisman, and Todd have kind of shared that duty, but frankly, it's a responsibility that I wouldn't want, and I think it is much better to put it in the hands of responsible, trained people instead of expecting staff or fair board members to do it.
So that concludes my report on that, Commissioner.
All right, and that concludes the listed agenda items other than other business. We need to set a date and time for the April meeting, and I don't know, Kathleen, do you want to send out a doodle poll? See if we can come up with a workable time for people. Is that the easiest way to proceed on that?
Works for me.
All righty,
It's fine.
so we will do that. And with
I have
no
a
other
question.
business, pardon me?
I have a question.
Okay,
So if we're doing a doodle poll for the next meeting time, are we actually setting our, like, a routine meeting time or just for next month? Do you want to go for a?
I would do my preference would to be like, second Thursday of the month, that X time when you do your doodle poll. That would be my
Same-
preference, but I don't really
Okay.
care.
Okay.
Yep, agreed.
yeah, I think ideally we get a new permanent meeting time. I think we ended up with like the second Thursday afternoon, strictly working around Jim Beisman and Frank Geltner's schedules. But so hopefully, we can land on a time that works for everybody. And we'll see you in April, whenever that exact date turns out to be. Thank you all. And at 3:52, we stand in adjournment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
And
I think you gotta kick your YouTube out too, didn't you?
yeah.